We're live. Hello. Hello, friends. Welcome to this week's episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live. Thank you so much for joining us live on Facebook and on YouTube. Don't forget to find us on Instagram and the Twitter. Welcome. Now, what you need to do is go like, subscribe, share, thumbs up. Tell everyone you know that it's time for the show. It's time for the show.
We weren't here last week, so you got a break from us. But we're here this week.
We gave you a short break, so now you're back.
We took off last week because we went and had dinner with a friend that I haven't seen in 20 plus years.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, good for you.
No.
Not that you hadn't seen him, but that we got to see him. I would go tell my friends come watch, but I don't have my phone. I'll have to send them a message here.
And you met him for the first time.
Yes, hadn't
I
met
think the
this
last
person.
time I saw him, my kids were selling diapers.
Is
Maybe not quite diapers. They were probably a little bit bigger than that. But
Is it working? The video is ended. What does that mean?
what?
I think I clicked the wrong thing. I'm dumb.
So we offline now?
No, we're not. I think I shared the wrong thing.
Oh, well.
Because I'm dumb.
So we're back to another dumb show that's not working.
No, it's working.
Are you sure?
Yes, it's me. I just told you that. I shared the wrong thing.
Sure?
Why are you treating me dumb?
Sure.
Wow.
You like to do me all the time?
That's different.
Oh, is it?
Sometimes you are dumb.
Um,
I think sometimes we're all dumb.
No, you can't turn around. You can't. No, that doesn't work. To just insult me and then turn around.
I didn't insult you. I insulted everyone on the planet.
No, but you insulted me first, and then
Oh,
you
because
turned
you
around.
called me dumb.
I didn't call you dumb.
You insinuated that
No,
I was
you
dumb.
took it that way because you dumb.
All right.
So that big circle happened.
All right.
So
Let's
we got
talk
a
about
lot
some
to talk
movies.
about today because we didn't have a show last week, but we've decided to. Ironically, there wasn't a lot that came out last week.
Correct.
So it was kind of a good week to not be out because it was a lot of video stuff and smaller things. So nothing really epic to discuss. Unlike this week, where we have a plethora of things.
Plethora.
So I've seen a couple without you. You saw one or two without me, I think. And we saw a bunch together. So where would you like to start, madam?
Man.
There's two big theatrical releases this week.
Mm-hmm.
I saw one. We both saw the other. There's a couple new Amazon ones.
Yeah. Where do you want to go? I
Where do
mean,
you like, Bema?
the world is ours.
Let's hear from you first. I know you've been
About
itching
this
to
one?
talk about this one. So you
I
watched this
haven't
one.
been itching. It's
Well,
just
she was trying to talk to me. What I mean by that, she was trying to talk to me before the show to tell me, and I'm like, just save it because I don't know anything about this movie. I don't know what's going on. I didn't know she was watching it until like yesterday. She's like, I started watching this other movie, so we bypassed a different movie we were going to watch. She could finish this instead, and we'll save the other one for next week. So, tell us what it is, what it's about. Are you even ready over there?
I'm getting ready.
Okay, maybe you're not prepared.
I am prepared. So
There
here
I
we
was,
go.
trying to
You're
get
getting
you.
started. Let's get that party started. So we're going to start first with the new Amazon original film called Birds of Paradise. And as you see from the poster, it's a ballet movie.
Oh, you like ballet movies?
I do.
Whether it's dancing or Black Swan and Betrayals.
Yes,
Or...
I love all the dance movies. So immediately I'm drawn to the movie because I'm like, oh, ballet. Because, you know, in my vision of my childhood self, I wanted to be a ballet dancer. And of course, my mom said, no, you're too
small.
little. Yeah, you'll get hurt.
So instead, she became a martial arts master.
Yes, even though my
Well,
mom said I was too little.
Did
and
she
I'd
tell
get
you you were
hurt.
too little for that too?
Yeah, she's like, I don't know. I don't know if that's for girls.
And
You
here
might
are
get
now
hurt.
You're not really a master, but she's now a third-degree black belt.
Yeah, who knows?
And in Taibo.
It's just
and
a lot.
Taibo, in Muay Thai.
Taibo.
And Kobudo. You have what, a brown belt in Kobudo?
Yes. So basically,
Or Kobudo, depending on who you ask.
this film is about these girls who are competing for a contract to join the Paris Opera Ballet. So it's a competition. So you have to go through the academy training, and at the end of the semester or the season, what?
I was saying you have to go to Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Yes, right stuff, the right time, the right price or whatever. You go, you learn all the stuff, and then you compete at the end of the season or whatever, and then they hand out the prize. So they're there for the prize. Now, this rarely happens to me, but I really did not enjoy this movie as a whole. I thought it was overly forcing some of the relationships. Like it was too in your face.
Is it a drama? Is it a horror? Is it a?
It's a drama,
Okay.
but it's kind of dark.
It's not Black Swan dark.
No,
Okay.
but it's overly forcing these relationships and the stereotypes of rich girl going after the poor girl, but oh wait, the poor girl's really tricking the rich
Isn't that
girl.
every dance movie?
But then
though?
it's like the rich girl really was nice, but no, the poor girl was really nice. So it's back and forth the whole time. So it does that, but then it also overly sexualizes the whole experience, which maybe there's a bunch of drama and sex and ballet. I don't know. But
That's
it's
why
like,
I was going to ballet at one time.
it was just overly sexualized. Like everybody was with everybody, which kind of distracted from the main point of the movie is these people are competing for the prize. But then under the guise of they were using the sex to distract each other and make each other jealous and whatever. It was a little bit of like that. What was that other movie that was very much like that? I don't know. The ballet itself was good. All the dancing was great. All these people worked really hard. You can tell.
Did you have any scenes where somebody's taking their shoes off and their feet are bloody and they're like, oh.
Yes, that's a must.
That's
I think,
every
for
ballet movie.
movie.
I mean, I know that really happens. I don't mean it that way, but it's funny that certain movies or genres, there's going to be one specific thing in it,
Yeah.
And it's like, usually if it's a martial arts flick and there's a montage training,
Yeah.
that means somebody's going to be getting hit in the stomach or hit with sticks or something.
It was just a little too much for me. Maybe I'm not the target audience. I'm not the right age group, but there's like overt and over the top drug usage, sexual encounters. And I'm like, shouldn't we be focusing on the dancing and all that? But
did it feel like it was all of it just for the sake of doing it?
Yes.
I got you.
Now, what I did like, besides the dancing itself, because everybody did a great job and they worked hard, I liked the look and feel of the cinematography because it was very stark and pristine when you're in the ballet school and everybody's in their little leotards and everything, because that's the vision that you have of ballet dancer.
Yeah.
And then you'd have something different. We're in this sex-fueled nightclub scene. And then it's like psychedelic colors and glittery and glitzy. And so I did like that part of it.
I just kicked her ball.
Oh, okay.
Because she was being calm. That's going to break it. Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, so I liked that contrast of the two worlds competing for these people's attention. But overall, I mean, the acting was not wonderful. The dialogue was meh. Most of it's in French anyway, and
we know what you think of the French.
They're fine. Anyways, it was okay. I mean, if you're super into these ballet dance movies, you might like it. It was fine. I was there to see the dancing, not necessarily all the crazed drug use and stuff. But
you get irritated by drug use in any movie, though.
Yeah, because if it's just for the sake of doing it.
It's because of your past.
Yes. No. It's fine. But Birds of Paradise, you can watch it now on Prime. Let's see, how's it doing? Hold on one second. I just want to see kind of what people are thinking. I'll give you a feel.
Excuse me,
if
sorry,
I'm way off. Some people are giving it 9s and 10s, so they must have seen something I didn't.
It could be the artsy aspect of it too.
Yeah.
Or the
Some
drama.
people are like,
some people like the drama.
Somebody's like, what's the plot of this movie? They gave it a 4. Here's what I felt too. Someone said a student project with money, so they gave it a 2. That's kind of what I felt like.
You also have a thing that, and I'm not saying this movie is part of it, but the elements of it is you don't like real life issues, like in movies sometimes, like you in this one, obviously you wanted the ballet and that's what you're there for. But when you start dealing with drug use, which is depressing, or some of the relationship stuff, I'm not talking about that, but some of the other stuff, you tend to not be as interested when it comes into because you want to be taken away from the real world.
Correct.
When you watch a movie, like there's another one
and
we'll talk about in a couple
but
weeks.
it was just too out there for
Gotcha.
me. So I apologize, Birds of Paradise, that I didn't love you more. But you know what? I stuck with it.
You can also watch Birds of Prey.
Yeah, that is good.
That's really good.
All right.
Anyway.
Next.
Which one to talk about, or when we talk about it? Which one to do?
You want to do one together?
Sure.
You want to do one of these?
It doesn't matter. Whatever you want.
Let's go here.
So last year, we talked about the whole series of films on the Welcome to the Blumhouse, or Welcome to Blumhouse, or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Which is it Amazon? It's Amazon. Right?
Amazon.
Yeah. So it's an Amazon series at Blumhouse Pictures, who is Jason Blum or Bloom, or whatever you call him, Blumhouse. Anyway, the production company that became massive hit big when they put out Paranormal Activity.
Correct.
And since they put out a ton of different horror flicks and shows and stuff like this, including the new Halloween films. So they've been putting out, last year they started out to put out 4 films. Last year they did it 1 every week, the entire month of October. This year they're doing it a little bit differently. They're doing 2 every 2 weeks, or every week.
Every week.
So they're only doing 4 total still, but it's 2 this week, 2 next week. And they're always dealing with different cultural filmmakers, ethnicities,
Correct.
whatever, however you want to put it. So the first 2 films that came out this week were Black as Night and Bingo Hell. So we watched both films. Which one are we doing first? Black as Night.
Black as Night.
So the first one is Black as Night, which is a vampire flick.
Yeah.
And it's essentially about teenagers taking on vampires in the projects. That's the easiest description?
Correct.
All right. So what did you think of this one?
I enjoyed this movie. I'm always in for a vampire movie. You know,
Yeah,
I love me some vampires. I liked that in this one, our main cast are a group of young Black teens that are our main heroes, essentially, of the story. You know,
but then your vampires are also Black people.
Correct.
Of people of color. So there's no like white savior. There's no white villain. It's an entire cast of people of color. There's people in there that are not Black. There's
the
Hispanic.
white chick and there's a Hispanic guy.
Yeah, I mean, there's other people in it. Don't get me wrong, but it's predominantly this. And it also, interestingly enough, not only that the title kind of plays on 2 things. Black as Night, obviously the vampire thing, but also deals with the inner prejudice of the Black culture about skin tone, which was interesting because that's something a lot of people don't know exists a lot of. Obviously, I can't speak for that really, but I've seen documentaries, I've seen stories, I've heard friends talk about it, and here in our culture, I think the blacker you are was the one that was considered the lower.
Correct.
Yet if you go to somewhere like Africa,
correct,
the blacker you are, you're more put on a pedestal of a king or queen.
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting dynamic, and they play up onto that some of that.
Correct,
in this movie.
a little bit. And for me, as a person of color, I'm not Black, but as a Latino person, it is the colorism and the lightness and darkness of your skin is a thing.
Because like your brother's a lot darker.
My brother's darker than I am.
Yeah.
And so, you know, he didn't start out that way. We were similar in skin tone, but you know, he was always outside playing outside, and then he worked outside. So he's darker skin tone than me. And then even if you see, like, I think I'm a similar color to my dad, and my mom's a little bit lighter than us, I feel like. So
well, your dad's darker than you.
Is he?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm the same color as my mom. I don't
know.
know.
More your mom color.
But even so, even within our culture,
and you're grumpy like your
and
mom.
then I've asked our friend Niti, who's Indian, even in their culture, like the skin tone has a lot to do with how you're
which is always interesting because it's
strange.
You know, there's such a major fight between the white people and the ethnic people.
Correct.
For good reason. I'm not questioning that. But then to have, you would think, and no culture does this, but you would think these different cultures, but there's always prejudice, because there's prejudice in white culture with who they consider ghetto or who they consider white trash
and all that,
you know, or the highfalutin or the middle class, or it happens and it makes no sense. It's weird how that would even start. You would think if you're oppressed, you would be oppressed together and help fight the good fight together. And there's an actor mentioned in the movie, I'm not going to say his name, but somehow he became he's not in the movie, they just mentioned his name. He somehow became the poster person for darker colored people, maybe because he's such a big celebrity. And remember, we were even at a convention and somebody made a statement about his skin tone, super rude. And
yeah, people were like,
the cast was like, if you want to know PM me, I'll tell you the story. But if I tell you the story here, you know exactly.
But there are a lot of actors that now I feel are more representative of that darker skin tone. Yeah. So, like on my show, I was just watching him,
Mike Coulter, Luke Cage.
I mean, and I feel like there's a lot more.
That's not show. Let's show Evil.
I'm watching Evil. Oh my gosh! Please don't pull the camera. Go over here. Anyways. So
why does can she not walk around things?
I don't know. She just walks
Vader
through.
misses everything, and she walks right through everything.
She's like the Kool-Aid man.
My issue with this movie is it felt very like I applaud what they were doing. The tone of it, outside of the vampire aspect, but the stylized looks and feel of the community and the way what they were dealing with, very much felt like the original Candyman.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It almost had that same world, but this time vampires, and it was interesting of why these vampires were killing the people they were, and the story, and then the twist in it to it. But at the same time, some of the performances were kind of It felt very. I hate saying independent because it makes it sound like independent's a bad thing, because it's not.
No.
It felt more amateurish for this one. Not bad. It just, for putting out a film in this series, I think I expected more.
Yeah.
It's also not as gory as you would expect a vampire movie to be.
Correct.
It's very much more in a PG-13 vibe, even though I think it has language and stuff.
It does, yeah.
The gore factor, and that sometimes boils down to budget.
Correct.
So you never know. I try to keep that stuff in mind. So it's not a bad flick. It was kind of hit and miss with me.
I enjoyed it. I liked, for me, the way they dealt with the vampires. I think also due to budget, it's an easier way to deal with things.
Yeah. The CGI stuff they did in it was a little hokey.
little bit.
Yeah, it definitely felt like they didn't have a big budget for that.
I like that they reference Buffy. That makes me happy.
You're talking about in the way they...
No, she literally says Buffy.
Because that's kind of the idea of how they kill the vampires too, and what they do.
Correct.
But that's a smart way that I always thought was smart for the show, because them having the vampires explode or whatever like that, it's an easy way to get rid of bodies and not have to deal with them laying around the room.
Yeah. Well, and they deal with the different mythologies of how do you become a vampire and what do you do? Is it sunlight? Is it fire? I mean, so they go through all that, which I like that we're dealing with that. So, I mean, for me, it was fine. I also like, if we get through that level to the sub level of us dealing with these people in the projects and how they're treated, and how there's always someone trying to save you, but at the same time, there's that group of people that are like sucking the life out of these poor people who are already struggling, which to me was the whole
there's a whole metaphor to it, which was weird because I got a comment that I want to put out there from an African-American lady, black lady. She commented on my review and then I saw another post because I went to look to see who she was. And she had commented on the movie by herself, I guess first, that she was highly offended by this movie. And she commented on my review something about the person that made this movie is a racist bitch or something, and totally disregard. I guess black people have to be vampires now. She said something to that extent. And I was just like, she referenced Black Lives Matter and a bunch of other things. And I'm like, we kind of talked about it briefly. I'm like, what is it she could have seen that would have offended you that much? Because you got a movie from a black filmmaker, predominantly black cast. You've got black heroes.
Your hero is the female lead.
Yeah, it's a powerful black woman.
Yeah.
You have the villains, and so there's nothing there that's a stereotype of saying, I can almost see the argument if it said it's all white heroes and all black villains.
All the vampires.
But everybody across the board, and they were dealing with different. Maybe it was a skin tone discussion, or maybe they never dealt with that, or don't understand it, or haven't heard it. I don't know. It was baffling me. Like, I thought the movie wasn't great because of the movie. It had nothing to do with the cast or anything else. I mean, the cast you did, but what color the cast was.
In a way, I'd be interested to understand where she's coming from.
I was going to comment on her.
But then again, I also don't like us getting involved in internet fights.
Yeah, I wasn't going to, because she wasn't saying anything bad to us. She was making a statement in regards to
which is perfectly fine. I accept that. I accept that I may not know. I may not know what I don't know.
Yeah, but it just baffled me because, and this goes into some discussions we've had in the past in regards to race. If I feel like if I was to ask her, what about this movie offended you?
She would be offended.
Even though she wouldn't know that it's coming from a white person because it's on our Hollywood Matrimony page, that would come into play. Yeah. She may ask me, well, are you black? Are you white? And if I say white, well, then that's why you don't understand. You probably agree with this. And then it would get turned. I'm speculating because we didn't have a discussion, so I don't want to put words in her mouth. But that's what happens. So it's like I have a mild fear, not a fear of, but of a hesitation to respond to things like that when someone's using the complete race. But that's also the thing that I think has caused a lot of the problems in the world. Both sides of it is everything is race or sexuality or politics. It's nothing is. Sometimes this person is just a jerk.
Yeah.
People can be a jerk and not actually be a racist or a Republican or a Democrat or love Trump.
Maybe
or,
they're just a jerk.
Yeah, some people just ask, what is it? Who was it? Jeff Foxworthy?
Yeah.
My favorite quote of one of his stand-ups was like, one time he would just like to see somebody on one of these talk shows that comes on and says, you know what? My mom is great. My dad is great. I'm just a shithead. Because sometimes that's all it is. So anyway.
Anywho, I do want to do a shout out to the main girl. Her name is Asia Cooper. I think she is beautiful. That's all I had to say about that. And then I thought she was really cute. I was like, you go, girl. And she was strong and she was fighting and she was figuring it out. And she went from, a very dramatic moment with some things that are going to happen in her personal life to, fighting back to becoming a strong character. And then we have to do shout out to our guy from our show. This is Fabrizio Guido.
Yes, we were trying to figure out where we knew him from. We realized he was on Iglesias.
Mr. Iglesias. Love him.
So he's funny on that show,
cute.
and he's funny over the top kind of gay character in this one. I don't know if he's gay in real life. If he's not, he killed it in this movie. But he doesn't play a gay character in Mr. Iglesias, which isn't important. But he's funny in that show. He's one of my favorites on that show too.
He's
so
super cute. He's just a cute kid.
Yeah.
You're a cute kid, man.
But anyway, Black as Night is available now on Amazon Prime as part of Welcome Blumhouse. And since we're already talking about Welcome Blumhouse, let's just dive into the second film.
All right, then.
Because it's part of the two films, let's just do them
together.
They're
back to back.
So
Boom.
This next one is Bingo Hell, which is, it's got a great cast in it. I don't necessarily know all of their names, but they're people you've seen in other things, a lot of them.
Yes.
Richard Brake, who you see him in the poster with the crazy smiles, one of my favorite character actors out there. He shows up in a lot of stuff. He was in Mandalorian. I don't know if you remember him in the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
He was in the last Trimmers movie. He was in the Three from Hell. He was the new Firefly brother.
Yes.
That showed up. But he's been tons and tons of stuff. He's got the creepiest smile on the planet. Which makes him so much cooler. It's both creepy and awesome all at once. Anyway, anytime he shows up, I'm in. He's done some movies that were trash, and he's always good at it. So anyway, tell us what Bingo Hell is about.
So Bingo Hell takes us to this little community that's going through a little gentrification.
Was it Oak Springs?
Yeah,
yes.
Oak Springs. And so there's this group of like older residents who have refused to move and to sell, and they're still there. And suddenly overnight, this brand new bingo hall appears, but crazy, mysterious things begin to happen to the winners. So that's where we're at in our
There's
story.
like a supernatural.
It's a little supernatural.
Heaven, hell.
Yeah.
Questionable situations going on.
Lots of that.
And what I actually thought this movie was a blast. I know you were saying that a lot of the reviews were giving it bad reviews, but I don't think people ever got it.
I don't think they got it.
And it's a movie you either get or you don't, because it's not. It's kind of subtle because it takes a little while before you get to the crazy part, because you're meeting all these characters. It's the build, but it's the kind of build-up you want.
Correct.
Because you really start either liking or disliking the characters, and it's showing how they have the old school relationship of like when you walk in, it's very connected, or it's very similar to our dinner last weekend. Me and him hadn't seen each other in 20 years.
Correct.
We saw each other across the parking lot. We're like, what's up? Like, it's like I just saw him yesterday. And we went right back into our normal conversation, insulting each other, joking around, and that's how these people were. They just, they're nice to each other. They're having fights, but it fights ends with I love you and walk away. But they're also a community, and they kind of throw in a little bit of all the different races.
Correct. And I think if you just watch it on a surface level, you just see the grumpy old lady who's mad about everything. She's mad that the neighborhood's changing. She's mad that there's this new bingo. Like, she likes things the way they were. Yeah. Because that's what made her comfortable. She knew all her neighbors. She knew all the kids. That became their family, and she was happy. Yes.
Seniors are like that.
So one of my favorites is she's like, oh, these dang hipsters. And she hits the girl that has her little mochaccino. And she's like, sorry. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's hilarious. But, we're dealing with that. But at the same time, as the new hipster people and their coffees and all these bright, shiny things across the street, you see all these poor people, and these houses are like falling apart. And they're being told, like, well, just sell your house, move away. And they're like, no, this is our neighborhood. This is where everybody grew up. And so that's kind of the two things. And
I like, too, that with dealing with the race side of it, they deal with the race side without dealing with the race stuff.
Correct.
Because you have a little bit of everything in the community. So you have the older black lady who's dealing with her daughter-in-law and her grandson. The daughter-in-law is white. The grandson's obviously going to be mixed. But it's never really spoken about her race. Because, a lot of times in the situation they have, she makes some white references to her, but this girl is...
Just some problems.
She's trash. And they never really talk a lot about her son, but you get that he's passed away.
He passed, yeah.
But it's stuff that's not important to the bigger picture that people tend to waste time on.
Correct.
And they give you just enough, but it delves into their personalities and when they interact with the other people. And, you have the two guys who are really close friends. They're always yucking it up. But then you get to see that moment when greed kind of gets in the way. Mm-hmm. Then you have the other lady who's kind of in the middle of all of it. And she always seems out of place.
Yeah.
The kind
She's
of
a
white
little
lady.
out of sync.
But yeah, I almost, even though I like the, the second half when he gets into the crazy stuff, I like the first half just as much. Because I liked watching these people interact with each other.
Correct. And I think the funny thing is right when it starts to shift, there's that thing I posted on Facebook, like there's just this 15 seconds. And she's like, let's go talk to this gringo.
Yeah.
And the white guy in the group, he's like, well, what makes you think he's white? And everybody, all the Hispanic and black people are like, he's white. And he's
the person
like,
that takes over the big
okay. Yeah. And they're like, that's why I'm like, sometimes just trust your colored friends. They know.
She posted trust. And all the people that liked it were her colored friends.
All my colored friends.
And like 2 or 3 other white people. But this one gets a little more gore to it.
I love it. There is some good stuff with like and blood everywhere. And I liked that you see both sides of the story and the supernatural story of what you think you see and what they think they see. And I liked that back and forth every time with these people who won big.
There's some really clever cinematography.
Mm-hmm.
Like the opening sequence I thought was the best. Because there's a scene, without telling you what the scene is, but involves bingo balls. And there's a scene where these bingo balls are just rolling under the, kind of out of the frame of what's just happened. And it's just like, that is just a cool visual. And it kind of happens throughout the film. Mm-hmm. And he uses various neon lights and colors.
Yeah. And so that was in the second half. In the first half, it's all old and dingy and kind of worn down.
It becomes almost like Vegas-like in the second half.
Yeah, in the second half, it's all the bright lights and music. And I'm like, this is a distraction technique, people.
Yeah.
And it is. But, that's how sometimes as the new things move, it's like, ooh, it's new and bright and shiny. But sometimes we forget that the old way might have been okay too. And so that's what we're fighting with throughout the whole movie. And yeah, there's some good gory stuff happening in between, but
there's something
I think
also
people just don't get it sometimes.
There's also something fun about just watching old people fight.
When
they get pissed off, and part of it, when it's handled right, there's a thing about not only is it entertaining to see people fight that don't expect to fight. But they're also the people that have lived through some crap and they don't care.
Mm-hmm. It's like, you know what?
They don't really sometimes fear dying because they've lived a whole life. And so they're willing to throw down on what they believe in.
And that's what our main lady's like, come on, guys, don't you see what's happening? We got to fight for our play. We got to fight for our community. We got to fight for each other. And she's willing to like go to the very end.
And there's an interesting kind of metaphoric kind of lesson with it too that talks about what a community actually is, and it's not always the town you're in; it's the people that are there. Which is very much family discussion too. Is that family's not always your blood; it's the people that are there for you and around you. And yeah, it's like there's so many layers to the film, but you could also ignore all those layers, watch it, and just have fun.
Correct.
Because it's not shoving things down your throat; it's just there. But they're so subtle that they merge into what's happening while still making a fun flick.
Correct. And the blood was good. The gore was good.
Some great gore. It's not overly graphic. It's just a lot of spraying it, which I kind of like that stuff.
And your colors and your visuals are amazing because it helps further the story with the lights and the darks and the olds and the news.
And anytime you get to watch Richard Brake give his creepy smile is always awesome, especially when his face is covered in blood.
And then our main lady, who's Adriana Barraza, who most people like me, I was like, that's the lady from the Selena movie.
She's been in a bunch of stuff.
I know, but just this.
And it's always funny because, like, you look at her outside of the movie, she never looks like she looks like in the movies.
Correct.
She usually has longer hair.
Yeah, in this movie, she's just like a little old lady who's all upset, wearing her tennis shoes.
They're clearly dirty and old.
Yeah, just I liked it. I liked, too, that a lot of it was more ethnic than not.
Yeah.
Because we're in a very obviously kind of ethnic lower income community, and there's more of a Latin presence. So like the first movie obviously was a black director with a black cast. Now we have a Latin director with kind of a Latin black mixed cast.
And what I like about both films is neither one of them are dealing with race.
Correct. And they're both women directors.
They are. There's race being dealt with.
Correct.
But
that's not the main subject.
That's what I think loses some people on any subject, not just race, whether it's religion or sexuality or race or a message about gun control. When you start forcing those elements into your story, people stop listening.
Yes.
So when you're telling a story like this, which this is not the movie I expected Bingo Hell to be.
Because I don't know what I expected.
When you call a movie Bingo Hell and you say it's about people that are fighting evil in a bingo parlor, I'm expecting a trauma, silly, kind of over-the-top, horror, goofy, kind of silly film.
Which that would have been
This movie had a lot more depth to it than you would think.
It did. It's very much, there's layers. And
if you see it.
Yes.
I'm not saying see the movie. You've got to see past.
That's the thing. That's the argument I have a lot with just people who are your casual movie viewers, who are like me right now, just like, But I try to see beyond that, because even with the first movie and with this movie, there are layers to it. There's more to it. It's about gentrification. It's about the old and new coming together. It's about, the upper class, the lower class, the white coffee shop and the ghetto neighborhood. I mean, it's all these things that are happening.
I think there's also this thing
and I don't think
where
people take time to look.
People only seem to think there's a message in the drama.
Oh, hell no.
You look at comedies and horror flicks and all these things. There's so many things. Like some of the most gory, horrific horror films have messages in them.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's about greed, whether it's about selfishness, whether it's about, pain and loss, or, and then there's movies like Rubber that are just art to just mess with your brain.
Yeah.
And who was it? I told you that quote the other day. I think it was Ingmar Bergman or something like that said, this isn't the exact quote, but it's something to the effect of a good movie makes you feel something, even if it's uncomfortable.
Correct.
That
and
means you got something out of it. Yeah. And
both
of these movies are silly fun.
They're fun.
But there's more to them. If you don't want to see that, you don't have to.
That's
you can
fine
have a good time.
Just have time with people in blood and guts, and there you go.
Because there are movies that come out that don't have a bigger story. They're just what they are.
Yeah.
Yes, you can argue the Fast and the Furious movies are about family and stuff. Nobody's watching
it's all
those
about
movies
family.
Nobody's watching. People stopped watching those movies about family 5 movies ago. We're wanting carnage, destruction with cars and guns and fights. That's why you watch that movie. The superhero movies are kind of the same thing. You want to see your superheroes doing superhero things. And then there's underlining stories that get more meaningful depending on the story. You take things, say, like Black Panther or Shang-Chi, there's also that cultural awareness that empowers the people that are getting representation.
Yeah.
You're still watching a movie about superheroes.
Yeah.
But there's something else there.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's there, like I said, sometimes it's not. I have a post over for a movie called Sweatshop. There's no underlining story to that movie. That is a slasher at a rave killing people. That's it.
Don't go to raves.
But that's what you watch it for. So you either like it or you don't. And I think if people would open their minds a little bit when they're watching stuff, listen to what people are saying and what's on the screen instead of what you think is going to be there.
Yeah.
Sometimes when something's not what you expected, it's better. Like I said, this one I expected this to be the one you hated. I never watched the trailer.
Wow.
So I expected this to be one you would think was stupid. And I was going to love it because I thought it was going to be this over-the-top, crazy, silly movie.
Wow.
And it ended up being something
I really enjoyed
different.
it. And the director quoted me.
Yes.
And shared my review.
Which I'm wondering if, one, because your quote was exactly what I think they were probably trying to remind people of.
Yes.
But also that the movie's been getting trashed.
Yeah, like people.
But I had another friend post about it who he loved the movie.
I liked it, so that's great. So thank you. But yeah, some people just on regular internets didn't really care for it. I don't think they got it. Oops, I just accidentally switched the poster.
Why did you switch the thing?
It was an accident. It was an accident.
Film when you're trying to promote somebody else's film.
But yeah, I don't think they get it. But I will applaud overhaul the Blumhouse thing that they do every year, bringing us into different cultures with different cultural directors. Like last year we had that Indian movie about the evil eye.
That was my favorite of the four.
I loved that movie.
It was called
Evil
The Eye or Evil
Eye or something.
Okay.
I was like,
That was my favorite.
And
those are all probably still available too.
I just like all these films, and I like that we're getting to experience different people's versions of horror, because horror isn't always slasher, blood, and guts.
No.
Horror can
That's
be psychological. Horror can be environmental, and in this one, horror's people getting money they don't really need at a bingo hall.
This is true.
Greed.
Anyway, Bingo Hell is available now
Check it out.
on
Amazon
Prime, along with Black as Night. If you go look up Welcome to Blumhouse, Welcome to the Blumhouse, you can probably find the entire series of films.
They were good last year.
So yeah, there's only one, I think. Well, two of them that I wasn't a big fan of.
That
one about
ballet,
the piano
one.
And then
I
the
liked
one in the snow was kind of, the mystery of the murder was kind of iffy.
Yeah.
None of them were bad. They were just my least
I liked
favorite.
the piano one.
It was a little all over the place for me.
It was a little supernaturally, but I just like at the end where they're like.
I think my problem with that piano was it's super slow. But anyway.
I know. Well, but I think it was also about the person's mental descent and their descent.
Yeah. If you want to hear about it, you can go find the show that we talked about those.
There you go. All right. Pick another movie.
You'll be talking about one of mine?
Yeah.
I've got two.
This
so
one.
Pick one.
Tell me about this. Or is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
People were excited.
So the next one I was pretty excited for when The Sopranos went off the air with the much controversial ending. People have been clamoring for something more from them. They talked about doing Sopranos movies for years and never happened until finally now. We got a prequel film that's all talking about how Tony Soprano became Tony Soprano, if you will. It's called The Many Saints of Newark.
Jersey?
Huh?
We're in Jersey?
Yes. And
I don't know anything about Sopranos.
I know. You've never watched it.
Never watched it. Sorry.
You should watch it. I think you would really like it.
I probably would.
If you never watched The Sopranos, it's actually classified by most people as one of the greatest shows ever to be on television.
Okay.
It's also the show that basically put HBO on the map. HBO was already a big thing.
Yeah, but not
But as
series.
the original programming, Sopranos, if I'm not mistaken, kind of made it the go-to place for new programming. And it originally started James Gandolfini, who sadly passed away. But what's funny is even though most people think this is a Tony Soprano movie, it's not. And I'm pulling up because I want to find this. Okay, make sure I'm saying his last name right. So the character is actually following Dicky Moltisanti, okay, who in the original show there's a character named Christopher Moltisanti, who is, I believe, the nephew or cousin or something of Tony. I always forget. And he was played by I always forget his name. Oh, where is it? Hold on, I'm stupid. Michael Imperioli.
Oh, like him.
Yeah, he played him in the original Sopranos, so he's narrating the movie.
Oh, okay, cool.
And he's talking about his dad, and so you see baby Christopher, and so in this movie you get a younger version of Tony than the teenage version of Tony, and basically his uncle Dickie is kind of who Tony follows around.
Oh, nice.
John Bernthal, who played the Punisher and all that stuff, he plays Tony Soprano's dad.
Okay.
And then Vera Farmiga or whatever, she's her mom.
Okay.
But she's weird looking because she has a prosthetic nose on to look like the mother from the original show.
Okay.
It's a little off-putting at one point. But you get to see a lot of the characters from the original show played by a new cast because they're all younger.
Correct.
Which is a little weird and kind of funny at times because this is one of those cases that they are actors playing characters, so they're having to impersonate the performance of the other actor to match.
Oh, that's a little hard sometimes.
Like taking on a character in a different version and doing your own thing. This is matching it, right?
Yeah.
The coolest thing is Tony Soprano is played by Michael Gandolfini, who is the real life son.
That makes it better, right?
Who grew up on the sets of The Sopranos.
Well, yeah, he was there.
But when they cast him in this, or he was auditioning for this, he had no reference to Sopranos. He never watched it.
Really?
Because he grew up on the show, so it wasn't a show to go watch. He lived there with his dad and everybody. So he had to go back and watch it and figure out who Tony was and this and that.
That's kind of cool.
And he is really good. I think he's really good.
Was he an actor before? I don't know anything about him.
No. Well, he did. I saw him on Jimmy Fallon, I think it was, or Jimmy, one of the Jimmys.
Jimmy.
And he did a stage production of Shrek. And it showed him, they were talking about the looks of Shrek, because then he got an agent out of his stage production of Shrek, whatever he was at. And it showed him in makeup. It's this really brilliant stage makeup.
Yeah.
But they said, but this was done by an actual Hollywood guy. He goes, here's what it was originally supposed to look like. And it's just a mask. It looks like something out of a child's nightmare. But he got that. But I think this is his first actual thing.
Oh,
playing Tony Soprano. So he's actually a secondary character in the film. The film looks similar to, like, it's got a very Goodfellas vibe.
I got a kernel there.
The biggest issue I have with it is I loved it. First of all, I love the movie. It like I said, it is a little weird seeing these actors play these existing characters, especially you get some of them that are Polly and some of these other ones that were kind of very expressiony, like Little Steven from the E Street Band.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that was with Bruce Springsteen. Always had the bandana on.
Yeah.
He was in the original Sopranos, and he played a character that was Tony's right hand man. And he's hunched over. So there's a guy playing that version. Having to do all the same mannerisms, and it's kind of funny to look at.
Yeah.
But with that said, the movie is awesome. The problem with it is it kind of leaves you hanging a little bit because there's still more story between now and when he grows up because he doesn't get to the old Tony.
Yeah.
So you feel like it's done, but there's nothing coming next week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it feels like it's great production value, but it does have kind of a TV film feeling to it. Like it feels like the same world, and everything else. There's twists, there's turns, there's murders, there's family drama, all the stuff you get in the original show, but it ends and you're just like, and then there's even kind of a mid-credit thing that happens. It's something that's not resolved in the movie, and now I have to go back to see if it's something that carried over into the series that I don't remember. But you're like, that's like it. Now on the same thing, it ends, which I thought was brilliant. The credit sequence, when it ends, it starts playing the theme song from the original movie show. So it makes you feel like, oh, now we're in the Sopranos. And
nice.
So it makes you want to rewatch the whole show. The guy that played him, Dickie, which is, I've seen him a bunch of stuff. His name is Alessandro Nivola is awesome.
Nice.
He's super insane.
He looks
Ray Liotta's awesome in it.
Always.
He's always good.
And I love Michael Imperioli.
Oh, Michael Imperioli was awesome.
I love him in anything. He's just cool.
Corey Stoll, I want to give some big props to because he's on Billions right now. Some people know him from being the villain in Ant-Man. But he plays Junior Soprano, who in the original show, he's this old man, and him and Tony always butted heads. Had these big, thick, square glasses. As the movie goes on, it's later in the timeline. He's got the glasses, and it kind of gets him to why he hates part of the Soprano, because he's a Soprano, but why he hates certain characters that you always heard about in the other movie. And so that part of the story, and his grumpiness, and why he's, he always had a cane, and you find out why he was always one of these doctor appointments. All of it happens in this movie, and he's a very side character, but it was just cool.
That's cool. You can
see that character in him. Like cool. Some of them were kind of hit and miss. You could see Junior Soprano then and now. I'll have to show you the two versions. But I really liked it. It did get a theatrical release, but it's also on HBO Max.
Oh, cool.
So if you've never seen The Sopranos, you can actually still watch this movie.
Okay.
Because it's a prequel.
Okay.
So you don't need to know anything about these characters. The only thing it'll kind of throw you is, like when Christopher's talking, he's like, that's my dad, that's my cousin Tony, or whatever.
Yeah.
That you'd be like, what?
Maybe you figure it out then.
Yeah, but I really dug it. I'll probably watch it again when I get ready to watch The Sopranos over again.
Okay.
I also wasn't as annoyed by the ending of The Sopranos like a lot of people were. So
there you go.
Anyway, check it out. It's only been on HBO Max for like 30 days, but it's been in theaters too. I think it's one you should watch in theaters if you can, because it just feels like it deserves it.
Okay.
But you don't need to. Anyway.
Okay. Next.
What do we got?
Well, many things.
We got one together. I got another one by myself. We got two more together.
You want to do this one?
Yeah, that's fine.
We'll do it together. Doing it our way. All right. The next movie is Queenpins. And it is on the line, isn't it?
It's on Paramount Plus.
There you go. Okay, so you go to Paramount Plus.
Yes.
Don't be complaining about it.
It's another one that I don't know if this one was affected a pandemic situation.
Yeah.
Or if they just sold the rights to it to Paramount Streaming.
Yeah.
I think it got a small theatrical release, but nothing really big.
Not by us, I don't think.
But you never know with these kind of movies. It's got a big cast.
Yeah.
One of my favorite actors of all time is in this movie now.
Yeah.
He's all time now because I know who he is, but before that. But who's in this film?
So this is Kristen Bell, and I don't know who else.
Can you not read it from over here?
No. Kristen Bell, Kirby Howell Baptiste, Paul Walter Hauser, Bebe Ray Ricks something, This is like doing an eye exam in Ben Spawn.
Yeah, I took my glasses off, so I can't see any of them.
Baby Rexa.
Paul Walter Hauser is awesome. I love him.
He's good. He's just good at being that weird, kind of offbeat, quirky guy.
I also love
but it works.
But I love the fact that he's also seems like a down-to-earth guy, but he takes on just any kind of role. Like he seems to just love to do something. He's on Reno 911.
What is he doing?
Well, he was. It's not on now because that show was on that network that went away. What was it?
Oh,
Quibi.
Quibi.
He played some new sheriff or security guard or something, and so he would just randomly be there, like sitting outside the station, and then have quick quips with people, and then move on. But anyway, what is this movie about?
So this movie is based on a true story. So just know it's based or inspired,
something.
Not exact.
Although I couldn't find anything about it, so but
I did. I found the two ladies.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not the exact story, just kind of loosely based and inspired by
kind of a comic
about these two ladies who started this couponing empire, basically, and they made like $50 million in this couponing scam. And basically, what they did is they kind of did some illegal stuff to get free coupons. And then they created a website where it's like, hey, sign up for Super Saver and we'll send you your Val Pack, essentially. Your Val Pack coupons, okay? But they weren't just coupons. They were freebie coupons.
And I think they were throwing regular coupons and free stuff in there, right? To make it look legitimate.
But then what happens is people would start redeeming. So the companies were losing like millions of dollars because like, 10,000 people are like, I need my free box of cereal.
You know what? And there's a scene in it, which I never even thought about, of where do these coupons go? In my mind, it was like you redeem a coupon, it goes in the trash, right? Because it's expired now, or it's been used. I never really thought about the fact that there's a company that people are taking these coupons that have been redeemed and going through them and making sure they're expired and then destroying them and whatever. But you keep it saying, like, somebody's redeemed 35,000 coupons for Huggies, and thinking, holy crap,
we didn't put out that many.
Who would have even thought about that?
Well, because when you're a cashier expert, you take all your coupons and you have to flip them together, and it's part of your till because it's actually cash.
Yeah.
So it does go somewhere. And I think
in my mind, because I've worked at grocery stores and in retail and stuff, but I've never worked the money register. I always avoided it because I don't like dealing with other people's money. That's just my thing. And I want to do with my money, nobody else's. So send me money and I'll deal with it. But I think I always wondered, or I assumed it was a situation like they give you the coupons, and then the coupons were sent to the company, and the company sent y'all the stores the money to counterbalance the cost of what they saved. Yeah. Is that how that works?
Essentially, yes. But that was the problem here, is that like thousands of people are getting free boxes of cereal.
Yeah.
Their companies are losing money.
And see, part of this was the coupon company's fault.
Yes,
because
they did not have good procedures in place.
Well, no, but it's the way they produce their coupons, and that there's a whole thing of when a sheet of coupons would clip off, there was this many, but one would be cut off and thrown in the trash.
Right.
That was that one off. It's like the other scams of money fraud where people would take this deposit, but they would keep the 15 cents from said deposit, and after you have 5 million versions of that, it becomes money.
The program to do like 0.000001 cent.
Yeah, so nobody would notice the 1 cent, but then that 1 cent adds up out of 20 million transactions, turns into something.
Ow, dog. Anyways, the other thing though too is we find out these companies were like doing all this coupon stuff out of a sweatshop in Mexico. So I mean, lots of illegal activity from all parts. Anyhow, it follows the story of these two ladies who are just trying to start their own little business, trying to earn some independence. And we learn a little bit about their lives and their struggles. So, I mean, it is largely about the coupons, but it's also about their lives and how, in a way, this was an okay thing for, like one lady's like, you know what? It was okay. Even though bad things happened to me, got caught. Who cares? Her life ended up better. Yeah. Which is bizarre.
But it's dealing with a little bit of depression. It's dealing with the fanatical couponing world that's out there. Which is basically hoarding.
It is hoarding. That's your extreme couponers.
Yeah, it's a thing of, and there's a moment where they explain it that I've known this, but you don't really think about it. But it's that feeling of
euphoria.
Power and euphoria because you save so much money. You went and bought $300 worth of groceries and paid $15.
Yeah, so the guy, your Walter, whatever his name is,
Walter Hauser.
he actually works for the stores, validating coupons.
He was the security specialist. Which
yes,
meant
for coupons.
He dealt not just for coupons. He dealt with everything in the stores that were essentially like shoplifters, coupon issues, everything. Because remember, he talks about it a few times.
He knew the whole coupon thing.
Yeah.
But he said there was the study. Like, why
he
do
was
people
Paul Blart for the store.
Why do people use coupons? Is it about saving money? He's like, no, it's not about the saving money. It's about the power that I bought this for 50 cents and it would have been $3.
Which is an interesting
that euphoria
moment of explanation that also is a moment of his legitimacy.
Correct.
Because Vince Vaughn plays this postal inspector, because as through all this stuff happening, it turns into mail fraud and money laundering, all kinds of things happening.
Fraud, because the mail fraud is what got them. Stop. Go.
To do one thing, it causes problems with other things, and then it just keeps stacking the crimes. But it's funny throughout. There's Vince Vaughn and Hauser, I think, have the best banter in the whole movie.
Yes, because they're just so awkward and opposite each other. But on
and it's weird because
funny.
Vince Vaughn plays the straight man.
Yeah.
He's not funny in the movie. He's very the normal guy, and allows Hauser to just be kind of his awkward, silly weirdness that works.
Yeah.
And I like that Kristen Bell and the other lady, they have like this every woman mentality, but they're two people you believe are friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it kind of plays off really well. Plus, when their growth of the company. And I also would like to say the thing I love most about this movie is there's never the whole thing where the friend turns on the other friend.
Correct.
Like every movie
really
like
friends.
This, there's always one that screws the other one, a betrayal. And this one doesn't do this. This one lets all of it play out. Yeah. And it's ridiculous, over the top.
I think it's so fun. I liked it. I really liked it. And now it made me want to go buy the paper. So I can have coupons.
Yeah. She was always like, I need to start getting the newspaper and do couponing. And I'm like, oh my god.
But you know how expensive the newspaper is? It's ridiculous.
I have a friend. I don't know if he still does, but he was Mr. Coupons. Buy one. I'd go to his house. I won't say his name, but if he happens to watch our show, he'll know. If he doesn't comment, I'll know he's not watching our show. But I'd go to his house. He goes, "Hey man, you need some toothpaste? You need some deodorant?" Because he would tell me, he's like, "Man, I paid 15 cents today when I went to the store and I got 35 things of toilet paper or whatever it is." And I'm like, why? Why do you need this? Because it was on sale. That's the same mentality. Is that he didn't need it. He just, because he could get it cheap, why not buy it?
Yeah. We don't do that.
Yeah.
We just buy what we need.
Jesus.
That's it.
Stop. Anyway, Queenpins is available now on Paramount Plus. It's fun. It's
ridiculous.
It's kind of sad at moments, I guess, but it's highly entertaining. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more because of Paul Walter Hauser being in it. I don't know if I would have had the same feeling about the movie had he not been there, but it is just the story and stuff is fairly interesting on how they pull it off and what they did.
Okay. Next.
And it teaches you the dangers of
extreme couponing. Why do you need 20 bottles of Tide?
Exactly.
No, you never do.
Until the pandemic hits, and then you wish you had 20 bottles of Tide.
But really, you don't. It would take forever to use 20 bottles of Tide. That's ridiculous.
True.
Just buy what you need and move on. There'll be those toilet paper people.
That's why there's usually shortages of anything. It's because people go crazy and buy stuff they don't need. Yeah. Gas shortages, toilet paper shortages, beans and rice shortages. Those are people buying stuff they don't need.
There was a shortage of red beans and rice. Couldn't find it for months.
There's a shortage of Gatorade right now.
Ridiculous.
And apparently some Dr. Pepper products.
Yeah.
Although I did find my Dr. Pepper slushie.
Did you?
I did.
Wow. That's amazing. That never happens to you.
I probably made a scene. Because I
walked in. Like, woo!
I did. I kind of, the guy's like, I came in the store, he's like, hi. I'm like, hey, how you doing? And I walk around the corner and I go, woo! Because I saw the green light was on. I'm like, and of course, I'm standing by myself and I'm wondering if anybody heard me. Or like, did Ric Flair come in here?
He did.
Anyway, moving on. Queenpins on, what did I tell you? Paramount Plus.
Paramount Plus. Okay, we're going to this one.
That one?
Yep.
All right, the next one is a sequel. If you don't remember, I've talked about it before. I love the Addams Family. I like the show, but I think I used to go online once I realized there was actually a comic. I like the movies as well, but I like reading the old comics because it's kind of quirky designs and whatever. So I was really excited when they put out the first Addams Family animated feature. Thank you. Because it's more leaning towards the designs of the old original Addams comic strips, which the artist got it created. His name was Addams.
That's why they're the Addams Family.
And so the first movie I really enjoyed. I wasn't sure if it was going to work, but it kind of stayed in the house. It got all the kooky, crazy stuff that we all
were they
know
creepy and they're kooky?
They were all together.
Kooky?
Yeah. Had a blast with it, so I was hoping they were going to be able to do more because I was like, if not, that's okay, but I hope we get more. And of course, we got a second one with the aptly titled Addams Family 2.
Looks like they're on vacation.
They are. And here's my issue with, for some reason, not necessarily with this movie, but for some reason with animated features, when they make more than one, eventually they send them on vacation.
Yeah.
I don't know why. They did it with Hotel Transylvania. There was another one I was looking at the other day. They did it. I don't know. But vacation seems to be a thing. Even in regular live action movies, sometimes sequels, they have to go somewhere. And part of what makes the Addams Family so fun is the house, the crazy house, and the horrific kind of horror elements of their life, and the people that don't belong, and all that kind of stuff. But I get it. So in this movie, Addams Family 2, we're jumping in with the family again. They're struggling to stay connected. Wednesday's always wanting to kill everybody.
Correct.
Bugsy's crazy. Gomez is feeling kind of upset because he doesn't feel like his kids care and connect with him. So he decides to take him on a family vacation. Let's get on the road. The worst. And let's go. And he's got this gigantic, like, RV, but it's like this horrific monster type RV. So they hit the road. And here's where my issue is. The movie still worked for me because I'm a fan. Correct. Right? I've read a lot of issues with the movie. A lot of people didn't like it. It's not as good as the first one, in my opinion, but it's so bright. It takes away the fun of the dark, gloomy aspect of the characters, because with these people, you don't really put them as a fish out of water story, which is what usually makes that work. They don't care. Correct. They walk around and they're who they are. And when they see other people, they just talk to them. And there's not a lot of the screaming when people see them, like the monsters, as much.
Yeah. Guys, behave.
But that stuff is there. But anyway, they go on this road trip. And then, of course, there's just a bunch of adventures. But then they start dealing with a scientist that has a story element to do with Wednesday. And it does get into some wacky stuff. But I had fun with the movie. It's beautiful to look at, just like the rest of them. The cast is still great. It did lose that horror element, although there is a blink and you'll miss it nod to Halloween, Friday the 13th, The Shining, and it's a street sign. I'm going to tell you where it's at so you don't miss it. There's a street sign that has all these different streets, and it has stuff like Haddonfield and Overlook Hotel and all that kind of stuff. So if you don't look fast, you're going to miss it. But it was fun. There were some other ones on there. I don't remember what they are, but it was kind of nice to say, okay, let's not forget our horror roots and what we're dealing with. Yeah. You do get some of the house at the beginning, so...
This dog. This is the most unprofessional show with this dog.
I know.
I apologize.
Anyway, but I had a blast with it. Like I said, if you like the first one, you'll probably enjoy the second one, but it is a little bit of a different vibe. But because the direction they went with it, you get a little more stuff from Fester, a little more stuff from Lurch. You get
too much love.
There's more musical numbers. There's some kaiju type stuff. There's
too much love.
There's all kinds of wackiness. So go check out Addams Family 2 if you're a fan. You can actually get it on Premiere Access. I think for like $20 if you want to rent it at home, if you don't want to go to the theater and watch it. If you say $20 is too much, try taking 2 people to the theater. You're going to only
that's $20 right there.
So anyway, it's available now from Sony.
Come sit over here.
All right. Our last film, there's one little more, right?
Yeah, there's one more.
Our last film is the biggest film this weekend. It's another sequel, Venom, Let There Be Carnage. The sequel to Venom.
This movie. No Carnage. You can't see my shirt.
Yes, your shirt.
I wore my Venom shirt.
And if you saw the first movie and you don't remember the after credit scene introduced Cletus Cassidy, who was played by Woody Harrelson, which if you're not in the comic and don't know, you won't know who that is. You can put that over here so it doesn't get knocked over. He is Carnage in the comic, so us comic nerds saw it and immediately were excitable. She saw him, she goes, ooh, Woody Harrelson. So
exactly.
That's pretty much all she's supposed to do. So the new one takes place, I think it's about a year after the first film. Eddie Brock and Venom are dealing with their relationship.
Yeah.
And now we get a little more depth into Cletus Cassidy and other people in his world and what happens and why they're doing the story about him. And then obviously there's no secret here. You get the birth of Carnage. which is a crazier version of the symbiote, depending on who you ask.
Symbiote is what they say in the movie.
I know, but it depends on who you ask.
I think it's a symbiote.
Shang-Chi all over again.
I think it's symbiote.
So anyway, Tom Hardy's back. This time the movie is directed by Andy Serkis.
Which is so cool.
Yeah, who's Mr. Golem and King Kong and Snoke and
she just pulled the power out of my computer.
She did what?
Pulled the power.
Oh. So, what did you think of the first film? Did you enjoy the first one?
I did enjoy the first one. They only have one problem with the movie.
The first movie?
Yeah, which is ridiculous.
Are you going to talk about Tom Hardy's teeth?
Yep.
He's English.
He needs braces.
He doesn't. He's Tom Hardy, and Tom Hardy only cares about Tom Hardy.
I guess so. Tom
Hardy doesn't
only
share
problem.
his personal life. He doesn't share his sexuality. He doesn't share anything other than talks about his movies. He's Tom Hardy.
He needs braces.
He doesn't.
Other than that, I liked the movie. I really liked the movie, and I liked just dealing with the whole science of it and figuring it out and the thing that falls from space or whatever. I don't know if any of this is the true story of how the symbiotes
It is and it isn't, because the original story involves Spider-Man.
Okay.
Because the symbiote did come from space. It came from J. Jonah Jameson's son, who came from space, because he was an astronaut.
I see.
If I'm not mistaken. He
just came from space.
Yeah, he born from space. He brought the symbiote down, and Spider-Man attached to it. That's where the black-suited Spider-Man came from.
I gotcha.
But then he realized it was an entity that was trying to take over him and bond with him. He rejected it.
I see.
So Venom was never really a villain per se.
Correct.
It was Venom hated Spider-Man. Eddie Brock lost his job because of Peter Parker.
Gotcha.
Because he basically ratted him out that he had a fake source or made up some crap in a story that was a big deal. So Eddie Brock hated Peter Parker. Venom hated Spider-Man, Peter Parker. Gotcha. So that's why he bonded with Eddie Brock to kill Spider-Man. That's his only goal was to kill Spider-Man.
So this is it's completely separated.
It's the same exact story, but they took the Spider-Man equation out.
Anyway,
because in the original Venom, remember, he's talked about how he was outed and he lost his credibility for a lie in a story.
Correct.
So all that's there. It's just
and what's her name loses her job, and then they break up. She was
kind of a jerk about that, in my opinion, in the first movie, because yes, I know she lost her job, but she knew what he did, and she's the one that kind of told him he needed to get out there and, you take your risk when you're a journalist. And
yeah, but I will say I like her in these movies.
Yeah, Michelle Williams.
Because I'm not a huge Michelle Williams fan. She's hit and miss with me, but I like her in this.
She's good in this.
So yes, I really enjoyed the first one. Good. Ready to go into the second one.
So we dive into the second one.
And I'm glad we watched it immediately, kind of like one day apart.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, okay, I know exactly what's happening.
So what did you think? Before I had to give you my thoughts, what did you think of the second one?
I really enjoyed this one. Woody Harrelson to me is just phenomenon of a man. Because he can do anything, and he's one of those people to me that really just goes all in.
He was, in my opinion, he was playing Mickey from Natural Born Killers in this movie.
I do not know that because
Mickey and Mallory.
I won't watch that movie.
Have you never seen that movie?
No.
We're gonna watch it.
It's one of my favorite. Psychedelic.
It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
I know it is, but it's just too much for me. And what's her name? That's the other thing. Is I don't particularly care for her.
It's got Robert Downey Jr. in it.
Okay, I'll give it a try. But I just like that he just went all in. He was there for the thing, even though if you look at it on a surface level, it's kind of ridiculous.
Oh, it's horribly ridiculous.
But again, let's get deeper into the story. Let's believe that alien symbiotes are real.
My issue with the story is really the reasoning behind what they're doing. That was my issue. Was not... Once you buy into the Venom
it's founded
concept,
in crazy people.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying the ultimate reason why they wanted to kill Eddie Brock, and that I thought was a little.
Yeah, but
I didn't read the later Carnage stuff. I was a huge fan of Carnage back in the day with Mark Bagley drawing him and all that kind of stuff. But I remember reading. I remember when he debuted. I'm like, holy crap, is this real? Because the original. Thing was, if I'm not mistaken, Eddie Brock was in jail with Cletus Cassidy and he escaped. And a piece of the symbiote got cut off in the bar.
I gotcha.
And then that's how Cassidy got it. And this one, you see it in the trailer where he bites him. But I kind of didn't like the thing. I didn't realize there's a character. Is it Shriek?
Yes.
Shriek? Not Shrek. Shriek?
Shriek.
I thought she was a different character, which she's not. And I had to go look when we came back. I didn't read that era of it, that apparently her and Carnage really do have a relationship in the comic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, this makes sense now, because I thought it was something they created. I'm like, oh, great, another change. But it was apparently a real thing in the comic.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I liked her too. I liked having her here. I mean, it's funny though, because when I see her, I'm like, it's the lady from Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm like, she's gonna do some voodoo on us, but she was good in this.
This is crazy feeding crazy, is what.
And I'm just gonna tell you, she's another one of these people that's just so beautiful and hasn't seemed to age at all. Like Pirates was like 10 or something years ago, and she looks exactly like she looked younger in this. She was so good. But yeah, basically, it's two crazy people together. That's what I'm telling you. What happens is just a crazy person.
Well, and that was one of my kind of issues with the film. But then the more I sat with it, the film is very chaotic. It's all over the place.
It is.
But it also made me feel like we're dealing with two crazies that are chaotic. So it's kind of like everything is all over the place with them. So it's almost like the tone of the film, whether it was on purpose or not, the tone and the editing, the way they put it together, kind of fit these two maniacs.
It did.
You know, I think the heart of this movie, which is a weird thing to say, is the relationship between Tom Hardy and Venom.
Yes.
Because I was reading a bunch of articles prior to seeing this.
It's about them. It's about
their
relationship.
Talking about this is actually, I think Andy Serkis might say, he goes, this is actually a buddy movie of Venom and Eddie Brock.
It really was. That's exactly what I was going to say. You have the crazies over here, but on this side, you have like two people who are really invested in trying to have a good relationship. Like they really want to, but they don't. But they do and they don't.
They have two different, one wants to eat everybody and one wants to just live his life.
I know, but I mean, you can see initially that Venom's like, okay, I'll play by your rules because I do want to be here with you. And in a way, it is. It's weird. It's like a weird bromance.
It is. It's
bizarre.
Know?
And then Eddie realizes he needs Venom, and Venom realizes he needs Eddie because, you know, it doesn't work well with anyone else.
Yeah.
And then on a sub level, I feel like it's also the relationship of Eddie and Venom with his ex and Dr. Dan, because they're all a family unit, even though it's the most bizarre family unit. The four of them meet each other.
I love how, because there's a whole element of how Venom hates Dr. Dan, but then he likes him and he's like, I like that guy, you know?
Well, because Eddie hates him, but Venom's like,
give him a chance.
You know? He's like, yeah, but he helped us. And then I love Mrs. Chen.
Mrs. Chen's awesome. She's an interesting addition that could have been a throwaway character, first one you never saw again. But she's kind of a grounded element to Eddie's life of normalcy. But the other thing I like, and I know you hate this element, but I love that through the entire both movies, that Tom Hardy is just dirty.
He is.
But to me, that's a visual metaphor of his life.
Yeah, it's just he doesn't have it together.
Yeah, and so they never tried, because Tom Hardy's a pretty buff dude, and he did the movie Warrior and all this kind of stuff, and he can fight and is big, playing Bane or whatever. But you don't ever get his shirt off. He's always looked unkept.
His apartment's always a mess.
Yeah.
And then with Venom there, it's more of a mess. They're just two bachelor guys trying to figure it out and haven't figured it out.
Bosom buddies.
And I like when they're like, hey, Mrs. Chin. She's like, hi, Eddie. Hi, Venom. He's like, hello, Mrs. Chin. I mean,
but she can't hear it. So
I know, but it's the most ridiculous things. It's like a bizarre alien bosom buddies.
It is, without the drag.
It's bizarre and crazy, but I'm so invested in their relationship. And I'm like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever watched. I love it.
I think I love the fact that Tom Hardy is invested.
Yeah.
Like, he's already been talking about, he's got ideas 3 or 4 down the road for Venom. Like, I think he co-wrote part of the story for this one.
It's like, why do I care about
That's somebody that he clearly loves this character, And I'm going to be the first to tell you, as much as I love Venom and Carnage and Spider-Man, all this, I was so against a Venom movie. I'm like, there's no way anybody's going to care about a Venom movie, especially with no Spider-Man. It's not going to work. Venom came out, and I enjoyed it, but I was still, the comic side of me was irritated. The film fan with me liked it. I revisited it, a few years later, and I was like, okay, I really dig this movie. I was excited to see the new one. I came out of it, I said, it's all over the place, but just the fact to get to see not only Carnage on screen, but Carnage fighting Venom on screen, and Woody Harrelson, who looks like Cletus Cassidy in the comics, playing Venom. And I was listening to one of the rare podcasts I listen to sometimes that Rob Liefeld does, because he was talking to Eric Larson, who did The Savage Dragon, and talking about Eric Larson. Technically, he was drawing Spider-Man at one point, and he's probably right up there with Todd McFarlane on the biggest Spider-Man contributors. He drew the issue, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm telling the story right, or an issue prior to the first appearance of Carnage.
Oh,
but he drew the very first Cletus Cassidy, and he was loosely based on the look of Woody Harrelson.
See, it all comes full circle.
So they were talking. So Rob talking this whole thing about we wouldn't have Woody Harrelson as Cletus Cassidy if you hadn't had Rick Larson. But if you look at the first appearance creators, Eric Larson has no creation credit for. He was just drawing a character in prison. He goes, I know they're going to do something with this guy, but this is just him, and it kind of became the look of Cletus Cassidy.
That's so
and then of course Bagley and the other guys created actual Carnage.
That's cool.
But I also want to give props to what they did with Carnage in the movie. They gave him his blade arms, they gave him his hammer arms, they gave him all kinds, because that's what Carnage always did. Mm-hmm. Venom was always just Venom. He didn't do a ton of the arm shooting crap. He did a lot of webbing and things like this. Yeah. He was more Spider-Man like. Carnage was literally chaos.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed it, guys, and I am totally invested in the relationship.
So let me ask you this next conversation we have to have without spoiling anything.
Okay.
What did you feel about the after credit scene?
I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued, and I feel like it's leading us to all this other stuff we already know. Like now, it's like bringing us in.
Because there's a lot of stuff for those that don't know the whole story, and there's like Sony owns Spider-Man universe. Okay. So people like Venom. We have the Morbius.
And then I start singing the song for Venom. Venom.
Yeah, and I love that Eminem did a song in both movies. I was listening to the end of the movie at this one. I'm like, that's Eminem again. I didn't know he did a movie because I knew he did the first one. But there's that Morbius, the living vampire movie that's Jared Leto movie. That's Sony, and that's part of the Spider-Man universe.
Oh, it's in Spider-Man. Okay.
Yeah, but in that movie, it shows Michael Keaton's Vulture character in the trailer.
See, guys, it's all like...
He's like, what's up, Doc? And you're like, what? And then they've announced a Kraven the Hunter movie, who is part of the Spider-Man universe.
Okay, so are we getting
our own
technically
Sony still owns, I don't know. Nobody's ever said if they're going to connect it or not.
They will.
Because Sony still owns Spider-Man, but he's licensed out to Marvel Studios so they can use him in Infinity Wars and all these movies. So when one of those Spider-Man movies comes out, like we have the new Spider-Man movie going to come out. That one comes out, that's a Sony movie. That's not a Marvel Studios film. See. It's Sony in association. So, like, when you get the PR stuff, it gets confusing. So, like, my Disney reps will send me Black Widow, Shang-Chi, that kind of stuff. When Spider-Man comes out, Sony PR is promoting it, not Marvel. So that's why after
I think it's confusing, but it's all interconnected in a way.
Yeah, well, it's just like X-Men used to be owned by Fox.
Yeah,
that's why they could never show up. But now Disney bought Fox, so they now own all that
everything. So now we can be
so there's
more
speculation
freely.
With the multiverse stuff. That's how they're going to be able to connect X-Men, Fantastic Four, a lot of these other properties, because Fantastic Four was with Fox as well.
I see.
All these different properties. So I'm crossing my fingers. That's how they might be able to get into the Venom universe somehow, some way. We don't know. There's no discussion. There's no word. We just don't know.
We'll be there.
If you've seen the movie, you know what we're talking about. If you haven't seen the movie, you need to watch it. Stay through the credits. There's nothing specific that I can tell you. Please don't let it spoil you. Go see it. Enjoy it. Don't read spoilers. And if you're a spoiler person, you're a shithead. I don't like people that spoil stuff. I won't even tell people about a movie from 10 years ago.
I agree. Or I'm like, well, just watch it. You're going to like it.
Experience it. Because I have one of my friends was asking me, does such and such happen in the spoiler? I mean, the after credits, I said, I can't tell you. Before the movie came out, he goes, come on. I said, no, I'm not going to tell you. So he went online because he knew it wasn't going to go to the theater. He went online and found it and read about it.
Oh,
so then he came back to, he goes, I already read it. Here's what's happened. He tells me, so now I know that he knows it. We had a discussion about what we think might be happening, but I'm like.
But me, I'll only want to see like one, maybe two trailers, and like that's, I don't want to know anything.
Well, I keep trailers for me if I know it's something that will spoil for you.
Well, and there's times when we'll go to the movie. I don't even remember what movie we're seeing. Like, you tell me the name of it, I'm like, okay, great. But I have no idea what the movie's about. Like the one that we watched this week that we're talking about next week.
No, 2 weeks.
Yeah,
it's on the 22nd.
Oh my gosh. No, anyway. Like, you're like, hey, we're going to watch this movie. And I'm like, okay, great.
I already told her 3 times.
And it wasn't until the people were in the room seated, I'm like, oh, it's this movie. I don't even remember. So that's, for me as that type of viewer, it's good.
Here's a problem with being a comic fan. It's better. These movies are almost more impactful to you as a story than it is to us.
Yeah.
It's more of an impact seeing this stuff actually come to life. emotionally that way than other ones because.
But I know because
if
there's
you know these characters, we already know what happens to all these people.
Yeah, and that's why sometimes you're like you're watching me to see what's going to happen.
Because
I'm like,
if you put Carnage in a movie, Venom, despite the story being slightly changed, I already know. I know who Venom is.
Idea
I know who Carnage is. I know how he becomes Carnage. I know their issues. I'm not surprised by that, but I'm excited to. I'm freaking seeing Carnage come to life. You know, and all the thing I had was drawn on paper. It's the same way of watching pretty much every Marvel movie. You know, I know the story of Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity War, and all these different Age of Ultrons. The movie stories are not the same stories, but it's seeing things like the final scene in the Endgame when Captain America says Avengers Assemble, and you see every hero from the Marvel universe that's ever been.
I was crying.
That was the first time.
Like getting teary-eyed.
That was the first time in any of these Marvel movies that I actually got teary-eyed because I'm like seeing something I never thought would be on the big screen. Is like all these heroes in a splash page. Yeah. That's rivaled any drawing of comics and stuff, and I'm like,
is that how it was in the comic? Or do you see people?
They do it. A splash page is basically a two-page
thing.
And that's what they would do with like some big war. Sometimes it may be close-ups of the characters and like 3 or 4 of them, or it could be a whole military. Like nothing to do with that movie.
No,
because that story does not play anything out like Infinity Gauntlet and Infinity War.
So it's awesome.
But anyway.
And then me as a non-comic person, it's amazing to me because I'm like, who would have ever thought you'd have all these cool superhero movies? Just us.
Well, it's funny because since we're discussing the world of Spider-Man, is I remember growing up and hearing, didn't have the internet, but I remember hearing all the stories about them trying to make a Spider-Man movie and then it not happening. James Cameron was going to make a Spider-Man movie for years. Really? And it kept, James Cameron's making Spider-Man, James Cameron making Spider-Man. And I don't remember if it was DiCaprio or somebody I think was attached at one point, and then it never happened. Yeah. And then a Spider-Man movie, that never happened. Then they said they're going to make an X-Men movie. And we're like, whatever. They're not going to make it. Then Blade came out. And we're like, what's a Blade movie? This movie's badass.
Yeah, because he's like,
and X-Men get credit for the reason we have the Avengers stuff, but the reality is it was Blade. Mm-hmm. Blade really set the tone. Yes, there's a ton of other. That it was possible. Yeah, it set the tone as a rated R action movie that 90% of people I knew at that time had no idea Blade was even a comic book. They just thought it was a Wesley Snipes vampire action movie. Mm-hmm. And it was fine. And that's how it was sold. It wasn't sold based on the graphic novel, the comic series. It's a character that's been around since the 70s, or 60s, whatever he came out.
But you got us there.
But X-Men was the first one to come out and be like, holy crap, we could do this. And then they kind of went up and down to that. But, now we have stuff. And now it to me, it kind of loses a spark now because it's normal now. I love seeing them. Yeah. But it's not. I
want to go watch all of them again.
Yeah, I don't have the same excitement for the Marvel movies that I did when they started. I love watching them. I can't wait to see them. But it's like, another one. Mm. Because it's it's like everything else. It's like the excitement is when Iron Man came out, and you're like, who wants to watch a movie about Iron Man? These people don't know who Iron Man is, and you watch them like, holy crap, they made a movie about Iron Man.
I think we'll find new excitement in watching it with the baby. Like when she's old enough to kind of understand.
It's like Star Wars, like Star Trek. It's like everything
doing it with your kids or
when
your
you experience
grandkids
it that first time, and then it's like I love every Star Wars movie unapologetically. I know they have flaws, and I recognize their flaws, but like I can watch a Star Wars movie and I still love it. Yeah. But it doesn't have the magic it had when I first saw it. Mm-hmm. It's kind of I'm just enjoying it now. But anyway, that's I'm off on a tangent. I love Venom. I thought it was awesome. Let there be carnage.
I like the t-shirt. I need another one of these shirts, but for Carnage.
All right. Well, it's in theaters now only, so you can't watch it online. There's no streaming.
Just go. It'll be okay.
And I'd like to report.
Yes.
That how much do you think it made this weekend? Because we're still dealing with pandemic. It didn't get the online release, so a lot of movies are really struggling.
40.
It was projected. They thought it might make $30-40 million. Then it kind of went up to 50-60. It made $90 million, making it not only.
Movies are bad.
Not only was this the second biggest opening in the month of October behind Joker.
Wow.
It is also the biggest opening during the pandemic.
Good. Good for you.
It opened higher than the original Venom, which only opened at 80 million. So to say we're still dealing with pandemic stuff. Yeah. And it did not get the dual opening.
Yeah, it got straight.
It basically meant people that wanted to see this movie got out.
They really went to go see this movie.
Which means we're also probably guaranteed to get more.
Yep. So there you go.
And I hope Andy Serkis stays with it because I think he does a good.
He did good. He did a good job.
So
He was very
anyway,
good.
Addams Family didn't do as well, but
I think your market for that smaller. It's going to be
Yeah.
people who know it,
well, it also
or they're
again, it
taking
also
their
had
kids.
the dual option, not going to theaters.
True.
Shang-Chi actually crossed $200 million, which made it the
That's
highest,
great.
I think the highest grossing film of the year so far.
Hmm.
You know, with the pandemic or something like that. Anyway,
That's good.
is that the last one then?
That was it.
All right, so we're talking about what's coming out this week.
Yep.
So coming out this week on Blu-ray and DVD, we don't have a lot of new stuff per se. There's all five, or the first 5 Halloween movies are getting the 4K release
Nice.
through Shout Factory.
Shout.
Sadly, they weren't sending them out for review, so I cried
That's
myself to
okay.
sleep.
Well, we can buy
I
them.
already have them. I mean, I don't. These are just getting the 4K version. They're also releasing a 4K version of the Universal Classic Monsters collection.
Oh, that's cool.
Which I'm supposed to have that one.
That's fun.
Which includes Dracula, Frankenstein, the Invisible Man, and the Wolfman. So it's not like the big box set that
you
we have up there that has even more of them. I think it's just those individual ones. So we're also Space Jam, the new Legacy, the sequel is coming out. So some people liked it, some people hated it. The Underworld Limited Edition 5 movie collection is coming out on 4K, which I asked for, but doesn't look like I'm getting that either.
That's okay. I've got all the movies,
no
and I just watched all 5 of them recently. So
anyway, in celebration of Elvira Cassandra Peterson coming out of the closet.
Did she?
Yeah, she's been in a relationship forever, but I guess she officially said something in an interview. Anyway, her movie Elvira's Haunted Hills is coming out on Blu-ray, and that's pretty much it.
There you go.
That's the big stuff.
Coming out at the movies.
Oh, the Don Knotts 5 film collection.
I want that. Coming out at the movies. So Netflix on Wednesday, there's a new movie coming out called There's Someone Inside Your House. So obviously, these people are being targeted by a mass killer in their house.
That's a remake.
So
look it up. It sounds like a remake of something.
It might be. It's coming to Netflix, so you can watch that. Friday, the big thing I think is going to be the new James Bond film, No Time to Die.
Which I have seen.
Rounding out the story of Daniel Craig's James Bond.
It's his 5th time, and I will tell you ahead of time, it is 2 hours and I think 43 minutes long. It is the longest James Bond movie ever, but it's worth sitting through. I have seen it. I will see it again this weekend, and we will talk about it next week.
And do you think it is worth watching the first 4 movies like we did?
You need to watch the first 4 movies.
Because
if you have not seen the first 4 movies, or if it's been a long time, I highly recommend rewatching them because everything is connected.
Okay, great.
And they go back and talk about other characters. They do that through all the other 4 too, but this one's even more so because there's different elements.
And it's funny because we went back and watched the first 4 last week, I think. And I remembered the first one. I only half remembered the second one and didn't even realize it was connected. By the time we got to the third, it's like, I don't remember any of this and that it's all connected. Then you get to 4 and I never saw it and it's all connected.
Like,
so it's like, I've missed the whole thing.
To give you a simple thing, a non-spoiler connection. I think her name is Vesper.
Vesper. No, Vesper.
Which is the Eva Green's character in the very first in Casino Royale is referenced just in a tombstone. So he's looking at a tombstone of her grave because she dies in the first movie. It's not a spoiler. The movie's been out in a long time. But if he's looking at it, you don't know who that is. It means nothing.
Yeah.
So it's very important.
So
that's the only thing I can tell you that's non-spoilery.
When did the first one come out? The Daniel Craig one?
2006.
He's been doing this for a while. He still looks good, y'all.
I think so.
He's another one. He doesn't age.
We'll talk about it later. I have so many things I have to say about this, but
okay, nationwide, a movie called Lamb. It's a couple.
I had to skip a screening for this. I meant to tell you see if you wanted to go on. I forgot.
Who find something strange in their barn, and it has unforeseen consequences.
But it's the girl you like's in it. Naomi
Rapace. I love her. Okay. Coming to Disney Plus. I'm excited about this. I think it's going to be super, super cute. You showed me this trailer. Muppets Haunted Mansion. So it's combining the Muppets and the Haunted Mansion, both things that I love at Disney.
They're also making a new Haunted Mansion movie.
Look at that for Disney Plus. Okay. I want to watch that too. Coming to Prime Video, if you're one of his fans, you're going to want to watch the little documentary of Justin Bieber. It's
not a documentary. It's
Our
a
World.
concert.
Well, it's a backstage outtake, so it's kind of docu-series. We won't be whatever. Yeah, so it's behind the scenes of his tour. So Justin Bieber.
Seeing it, so if you want to know how to watch it yourself. That was only New York and Los Angeles, so wait till white people run.
Okay, coming out, video demand and digital. Something called American Insurrection. It's about these. Okay. They're trying to escape some violence and oppression as militant seeks control of the U.S. How far-fetched is that now?
Right.
This is crazy. So video demand and digital, and then I believe it releases to theaters nationwide next week. The following week, this one?
Yes, I have a screening for that. Link on
Oh man, this looks heavy. This one's called South of Heaven. It's a convicted felon that gets early parole, and dealing with somebody and dealing with loss, essentially. Okay, then the next two movies in the Blumhouse series of October films that they do every year, The Manor, on Prime Video. Something sinister is happening. And the other one is Madres. It's a Mexican couple of migrant workers in the 70s. So I like this, where we're going, but she starts to see terrifying visions of the future. So it's going to be interesting, and I believe
no, there's another I wanted to tell you. They just now asked me about that Operation Curveball, like literally just now.
Okay, well, let's watch it. Oh, I'm going to make this yes. Okay.
We need to watch that one.
Everything else is kind of limited release near you.
No. There's something else that's, I guess, not showing up for some reason. I believe it's this week. I'm double checking.
What is it?
Hold on, let me find and make sure before I lie. Netflix. Yeah, it comes October 5th. There's a new movie coming October 5th. I'm going to watch it, and I think it's going to be ridiculous.
Oh, here it is. This one?
No, not that. Are you ready for this?
Dun, 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 dun.
Are you done?
Yeah.
It's called Escape the Undertaker. And it stars
the wrestling Undertaker?
The Undertaker and The New Day, which are these three wrestler group. It is an interactive movie.
Like a pick your own adventure?
Yes. It says, can the New Day survive the surprises at the Undertaker's spooky mansion? It's up to you to decide their fate in this interactive WWE themed special.
Wow.
See? There's a picture of it.
Oh my!
The trailer looks ridiculous. I've seen the trailer.
It looks
like it's gonna be ridiculously fun because they go thing, and it looks like it's something that would have normally shown as a vignette during one of the
one of
episodes.
those things.
But yeah, if you've never done one of the Netflix's choose your own adventure type stories, they're actually pretty fun.
Okay, we can do it.
That Kimmy Schmidt show.
Yeah.
When they did a movie. After the show ended, they did like a little wrap-up movie. It was a choose your own adventure movie.
Oh, fun!
So it was like, say, her and Daniel Radcliffe were fixing to get married. It's like, should they kiss? Should they get married? Should she run out of the thing acting hysterics? She hit it and just for no reason, she's like, ah! It's really fun.
That's funny.
We'll see. I think it's gonna be cheesy fun, but
that's okay. All right. So we're gonna talk about our
I gotta talk about
giveaways.
So what we
Here
got,
we
sister?
go. All right. Let me throw
it up on. We don't have a lot
on
of new ones right now.
the
It's pretty much the same stuff I've had. Some of them are wrapping up. Some of them they sent me extra stuff, so I kept them going. So we've got the Forever Purge on Blu-ray to give it. Then we got God of War 2.
Cool. Do we need to know God of War 1?
No, you don't. It has nothing to do with the other one.
Perfect.
Zack Snyder's Justice League on 4K, the 4 hours of glory. Clockwork Orange on 4K.
Which, just watching that thing that they really did put his eyes in the thing, and that was all like for real, freaked me out.
Now, they said they had in that scene, I think we might have talked about it, but they put the eye thing in there, and they had an actual eye doctor next to him who actually put him in and kept wetting his eyes so his eyes wouldn't dry out.
Oh my god!
And then they gave the doctor a line just so it didn't look so weird.
Yeah, because they're like, no, it'll just be like a minute or two. And he's like, yeah, no, nothing with Stanley Kubrick is a minute or two scene. They shot it over and over.
We got copies of Scooby-Doo.
Meets Courage.
Was it Straight Out of Nowhere? Straight Out of Nowhere. Scooby-Doo meets
Courage.
The Cowardly Dog. And finally, 4K copies of The Shawshank Redemption.
It's so funny. Somebody made reference to Shawshank in one of my shows this week about...
What shows at work?
No, one of my TV shows. He's like, man, this is Shawshank, like the guy with the spoon.
Did you go this like this again?
I was like,
this happens. It's so funny when this happens because she'll either have not seen something or don't remember a reference. And the same thing happened when she finally saw the original Red Dawn. And in the movie, they scream Wolverines. And we were watching Family Guy episode. And he goes, Wolverine. She goes, I know that reference.
I know. There's so many older movies because remember, well, you may not know, but just remember, I didn't actually start going to the movies until we got married. So for the first 25 years or so,
you had never been to a movie, had you?
I had not never. I'd been.
I had not never.
I have had never been. I think I'd been once during a school trip, and my mom was very upset about it.
You went while we dated, though. Not when we got married.
A couple. So maybe for the first 25 years of my life, never saw movies.
The funniest one,
except for World of Disney on TV.
The funniest thing that it still to this day cracks me up is I went and saw the movie Insomnia.
Yes,
with,
so
Robin
good.
Williams.
Robin Williams.
But we
Hilary
went and saw it
Swank.
at like 10:30 at night, and so normally goes to bed sometime between 11:30 and 12. At 11 o'clock, she starts to fall asleep no matter what's happening. And I didn't know this at the time, so we'd gone to this
I had
movie.
insomnia.
We're driving, and there's people out all night long, and she's baffled by the amount of people out after 10 o'clock. She's like, "Why are all these people out? Is this all? Don't they have to go home or whatever?" And then we get to the theater, and I remember us being there, and she's seen tons of people in the theater. She's just baffled by this. And then about 11:30 or so into the movie, she started to fall asleep.
Yeah. It's bedtime.
Because you really didn't see the movie until it came out on video, and we watched it again.
Yeah, I watched it again later.
I was looking at him like, what the hell, man? I paid for this movie trifling.
Sorry.
Anyway.
My bad.
Not to be confused, but weren't you with me when we saw 1 Hour Photo and the power went out?
Yes, that was creepy. So
Sit in the dark.
creepy.
Both creepy Robin Williams movies. Rest in
Anyways.
peace. All right.
Thank you so much for joining us for today's show. Make sure you go follow us, like us, share, thumbs up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Got it?
That's right. Don't forget to join us back here next Sunday for another episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live, where we will spend most of the show talking about all things James Bond. And we have a few other ones we'll talk about as well.